Welcome once again to Córdoba province, South America, setting for one of the classic motorsport events, the Xion Rally Argentina. It's round 5 of the season. Argentina sees us making a return trip across the Atlantic, our second visit to the Americas in a season that's so far been dominated by Volkswagen and their drivers, world champion Sebastian Ogier and Finland's Jari-Matti Latvala. This rally, a 4-day event based in Carlos Paz, close to the country's second largest city, Córdoba. In total, just over 400 kilometres of muddy, sandy gravel to master, or at least try to. 3 rough, tough days of Argentina so far, and the toll on man and machine has been unrelenting and spectacular. Mads Osberg and his Citroën DS3, the first to succumb, a compression through the dip, bouncing them off the road and out of the rally. WRC 2 driver Oyt Tanak went off in spectacular style at exactly the same spot. Tanak and his co-driver thankfully walking away unhurt from this huge shunt. Mikko Hirvonen then missed a pace note and tried to take a slow left-hander flat out. There was only ever going to be one outcome. Well, for New Boys Hyundai, this was always going to be a tough test. Danny Sordo suffered early on with a turbo pipe that came loose. The Spaniard's frustration clear for all to see. And sadly for Sordo, he would be forced to retire on both Friday and then again Saturday with technical problems. Just not his season so far. Thierry Neuville was also forced to retire on the opening day with turbo problems. He did at least manage a clean run on Saturday, fighting his way from 8th to 5th, despite this scare in stage 8. Andreas Mikkelsen in his Volkswagen suffered alternator failure on Friday and he too retired. But an inspired drive yesterday saw him climb from 7th back up to 4th. Chris Meek arrived here on the back of 3 non-finishers. Much better this time out, picking his way through these incredibly tough stages to hold 3rd, but he's had a scare or 2 of his own on the way. Sometimes Lady Luck is not on your side, sometimes she's right with you. 200. Polish star Robert Kubica arrived here determined to cut out high-speed crashes. A relatively cautious approach then, and it's paid dividends, riding his luck as well to be running 6th overall. But all eyes have been on the battle at the front between the top 2 drivers at VW. On the opening day, Sebastian Ogier and Jari-Matti Latvala took it in turns to snatch the rally lead, the Finn ending the day out in front. And yesterday there was only one person in it. Latvala quicker than his teammate on every stage. He even managed to beat Ogier despite a spin and a stall in stage 8. Truly spectacular action as ever here in Argentina. For the world champion, well, it was a rare, frustrating day. Perhaps the desire to add Argentina to his trophy cabinet was taking its toll. Ogier spinning. And then delaminating a tyre in the same stage. Sometimes it all gets just a bit too much, even for the best of them. And as if to prove it just wasn't to be the Frenchman's weekend, another very lucky escape after another mistake in the Super Special last night. So after 10 incredibly tough stages, here's how the leaderboard looks. Latvala's lead just over 30 seconds. Meek almost 2 minutes ahead of Mikkelsen. Neuville in 5th for Hyundai. Kubica, Evans and Prokop 6th, 7th and 8th respectively. But any mistakes today could easily see them losing a place or 2. And here's what the crews will face on the final day here in Argentina. 4 stages taking 2 of the most iconic routes in the WRC. Mina Clavero followed by El Condor, both being run downhill this year, which is unusual. And Paul King now picks up the action.
So a changing route, as you say, Kevin, for 2014, with Mina Clavero's 22 kilometres run in the opposite direction to normal. The fans out in force, as always, in Argentina, despite the miserable weather. And as we join Mikko Hirvonen early in the stage through this road's famous moonscape sequence, the crews will have to tiptoe their way downhill from the top of the mountain for the first time in more than a decade. That would be tough enough, but at this thick fog as well, the crews will be utterly reliant on their pace notes in this limited visibility. Hirvonen, though, one of the best in the business in these conditions, and he is flying. So we can see from the weather this will not be an easy final day up in the Sierra Chicas as Thierry Neuville now makes his way down to the Tresla Sierra Valley. A disappointing weekend for Neuville's Hyundai teammate Danny Sordo, who was unable to restart on this final day, but a terrific burst of speed from the Belgian does mean we have an I-20 in the top 5 on this final day. Amazing to see so many fans out there lining the boulders despite the pouring rain. Fortune favours the brave, they say. And these treacherous conditions do provide an opportunity for Andreas Mikkelsen. The Norwegian begins the final morning a minute and 56 seconds behind the podium places. He'll know Chris Meek in third will not be taking risks with a finish his main priority, so a late charge in Argentina could yet give the Brits something to think about. Meek has answered his critics in resounding fashion though this weekend, on course for his second podium finish of the season, and listen to Paul Nagel's notes here.
80, tight throughout minus narrows, watch it, and flat left open straight 80, must stop for the one right.
Caution the order of the day as they pick their way through the rocks, but there is cause for concern. The Citroën Star drops half a minute to fourth place Mikkelsen in Mina Clavero.
Chris, looking at those splits and that time there, you've got just under a couple of minutes. You've lost 30 seconds of that, but it's a longer stage. Is that okay?
That's perfect. Yeah, we can afford to lose 1.5 a K. I said I'd lose quite a bit of time in the first one just to bed myself in this morning, and the next one's only 16 Ks, but hey, third or fourth place is no matter. I say when I come back in 3 or 4 years' time, like Andreas' experience, I don't want to be battling a new boy for third place.
And back to the leaders. Sébastien Ogier was almost admitting defeat in his pursuit of his teammate Latvala the previous day. The Frenchman playing the long game in the defence of his world title.
Gauche 1 plus 20 mètres, gauche 130, 50 mètres, frein droite 110. Droite 110, sur gauche 112, frein. Pour droite 80 milons, 112 frein pour droite 80 milons qui ferme léger. 50 mètres.
Ogier third fastest through the stage so far. It appears there will be no final day charge for glory from the world champion. With boulders the size of houses lining the stage in Mina Clavero, now is not the time for a foolhardy charge in the mud.
You're an ultimate born winner. How frustrating is it not to be able to keep up with him?
Oh, it's okay. You know, that's life. You cannot win all the time. So at least I'm happy because then it proved that it's not easy to win, and yeah, it's no problem with that, and Jari deserves it.
It's looking very good indeed then for Jari-Matti Latvala. On very few occasions has the Finn found himself in such a dominant position at the top of the leaderboard on the final day. And his lead of half a minute over Ogier will be significantly improved here in Mina Clavero. Ogier's stage time of 19:28.5 in the green box is Latvala's target, and he is set to smash it. Yes, another 16.4 seconds, barring disaster now. The victory is surely in the bag.
Don't speak too soon, Paul. Latvala's lead now 47.6 seconds. Meek's advantage over Mikkelsen has been trimmed to a minute and 26. Hirvonen's stunning stage win sees him propelled back up into the top 10. Still plenty to do though. Next, it's the classic El Condor and a second run through Mina Clavero. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Argentina, a country blessed with stunning countryside. The pampas of the Cordoba province providing the backdrop for round 5 of this year's World Rally Championship. Well, not only is the countryside challenging to drive through, the weather can add a completely different dimension here. As a result, the teams have their own specialised weather personnel on site. People like Volkswagen's Silke Hansen, who now explains the difficulties trying to predict the Argentine weather.
Here in Argentina we have much less information than anywhere else, because just to get an example, in Germany we have 17 radar stations just for whole Germany, and here in Argentina you have 5 for whole Argentina, so it's less. When I do a weather forecast for something like Argentina, I'm not used to do weather forecasts for Argentina, so let's call it practice a couple of weeks before. So I have a look at home at the data, I do some predictions, and then I try to find out if it's my prediction right or wrong. El Condor was something special, because when I practiced last year I found a lot of rain on El Condor. The radar shows rain, so I thought, there was no rain in the data, there was no rain from the station, but there was rain on the radar. Then I found out that El Condor was really dry, so I know that the radar was wrong. It's difficult because the height is always a problem. You never know what happened if the air came through going up to a mountain. But yes, ask me on Monday.
Weather forecast for stage 12, miserable. A reminder of the standings there, with Latvala in control. The second of our famous mountain stages featured on this final leg is the shorter 16-kilometre El Condor test, named after the graceful birds that soar high above this mountain range. Martin Prokop, like many of the drivers in the leading positions, is only concerned with keeping his Fiesta RS on the road. The conditions on the downhill blast through El Condor barely drivable. It's as much as the Czech star can do to keep the car on the road. Slick, muddy conditions up here, like driving on ice, some describe the sensation. Prokop with a no-nonsense, controlled, error-free drive in 8th, and just praying he can stay there. Now, there are some positions on the leaderboard that have yet to be decided. Elfyn Evans is currently 7th, but only 18.8 seconds behind Robert Kubica. The M-Sport man, of course, hails from the Welsh Valleys, so he should know a thing or two about driving on such wet, muddy conditions. Even Rally GB, though, can't prepare the young Brit for these horrendous roads. Evans is through and is quicker than Kubica, making up almost 6 seconds on the former F1 star. There are currently 2 Brits in the top 7, with Chris Meek also on course for a morale-boosting podium finish.
Very slow narrow bridge, watch
Paul Nagel still doing his best to keep his driver on the road.
Stop, 21 left, don't cut. Don't cut it straight, 60, 2 right minus. Very narrow bridge, don't cut. Be right knee, Chris. And long.
Despite Meek's own experience of mud bath rallying back in the UK, like Evans, the Northern Irishman hadn't seen anything like this before, later describing the stage as one of the most difficult he's ever encountered.
And 2 right minus. You must stop, 20 over bad ruts, mud, 2 left minus. Watch it, currently mud break.
And you can see why Meek loses a little more time to the hard-charging Mikkelsen, but not enough to cause major alarm.
And that leaderboard continuing to look good for Jari-Matti Latvala, more than a minute his advantage over Ogier. Meek's lead still remains a healthy 1 minute and 23 seconds ahead of Mikkelsen, despite losing more ground. Okay, just the final afternoon loop to come now.
Just 2 stages remain then as we head back up to the mountain for the start of Mina Clavero, and unfortunately no sign as yet of a change in the weather. If anything, this fog has got even worse. So Robert Kubica has begun to slip back into the sights of young Elfyn Evans in the fight for 6th place. Just over 11 seconds the gap between the two as we move into this penultimate stage. Oh, and Robert really wide there too. Bit of contact on the outside of the corner. No immediate signs of any damage. It has Kubica rattled, though. By the end of the stage, the gap back to Evans is down to just 5.1 seconds. Andreas Mikkelsen is fast running out of kilometres in his valiant pursuit of Chris Meek's third place. The Norwegian did manage to make up half a minute on the Citroën in the first pass through Mina Clavero, so Andreas is giving it one last burst of speed. No easy task in these narrow, slippery corridors through the boulders. Another 32 seconds made up on Meek in stage 13, but with just the final test remaining, despite Mikkelsen's all-action efforts, it might be too little too late. Sébastien Ogier's turn now to tackle the penultimate test, the world champion's target to secure second place and then give it one last push for bonus points in the power stage. The fog mercifully cleared down on the valley floor. This is a new sensation for the Frenchman, being beaten in a straight fight by Latvala, and one that you can be sure he will not be enjoying. The fans are enjoying it though, and the rally leader has driven one of the finest events of his career. Latvala at his very best is one of the most potent weapons in the sport. This won't be a comfortable drive for the Finn through these slick, muddy stages with so much at stake, but having come this far, there are no mistakes from Jari Matti in the penultimate stage.
Confirmation then, more than a minute and a half now, the gap between Latvala and Ogier. Meek still has more than 51 seconds in hand on the hard-charging Mikkelsen. Neville remains in 5th. There's just one more test to come here in Argentina. It's El Condor, take 2, the power stage, so extra points up for grabs. That's next. Jari Matti Latvala on the verge of a memorable victory here in Argentina. Just the power stage to come after we reprise the WRC 2 support category. And it wasn't just the WRC frontrunners having problems on these treacherous roads. Estonia's Ott Tänak coming unstuck early on. The same spot that caught out Mads Osberg over the crest, kicked into a high-speed roll. Thankfully, both driver and co-driver escaped this huge off unhurt. Championship leader Yuri Protasov was running second after the first full day of action, but that spectacular roll through a water splash caught by a spectator ended the Ukrainian's hopes of adding to his points tally here. One slight mistake can prove very costly. But one man who managed to tame the tracks of Argentina, the experienced Nasser Al-Attiyah, the former Dakar rally winner, avoiding trouble and coming home to win by a commanding 5.5 minutes. So Al-Attiyah wins, Fuchs snatching second from Dominguez on the final stage. Al-Khoury and Botelli complete the top 5. In the championship, Protasov's lead is cut to just 4 points from Botelli. Al-Attiyah's win sees him climb into 3rd. Paul.
And so to the grand finale, albeit a rather damp grand finale. The Argentine fans still in good spirits though. The mud bath that is El Condor hosting the end of rally power stage with bonus points on offer for the top 3 finishers. Mikko Hirvonen has been in scintillating form on this final leg. The Finn may have been forced to restart after crashing out on the opening stage of Friday, but on these foggy, mud-covered roads, Mikko has been in his element. Fastest on every stage. Having endured a horrible run of mistake and misfortune in recent rallies, finally the Brit has been back to his best.
Stay middle over crest. 80, very early, 6 left, into middle over crest, into 6 right.
Tentatively making his way down the mountain one last time, keeping an eye on the splits to Mikkelsen. The nerve-wracking final stage is cleared, and Meek's second ever podium finish is secured.
Fantastic. What can I say? But this one's for the team, because after Portugal, yeah, they really put a lot of faith in me, and no, this one's for them.
So no one yet able to challenge the early pace setter Mikko Hirvonen in the power stage. You can guarantee that world champion Sébastien Ogier, who has become something of a power stage specialist, will give this one last push despite the near impossible driving conditions.
Gauche 155 frein pour droite 130 très vite, Milon mini juste. Droite 130 très vite, Milon mini juste, 150 mètres.
Mikko's time of 14:39.8 is Seb's target.
Milon, gauche 140, bon Milon arrivé, 70 mètres, léger frein droite 140, moins Milon.
And he has smashed it. A raise of the eyebrows from Mikko. Ogier quickest in the power stage so far, and that's the runner-up spot secured as well. But take nothing away from the driver on course to become the first man following the Sebastian Loeb era to win in Argentina. It takes a special driver to force Sébastien Ogier to admit defeat, and that is exactly what Jari-Matti Latvala has done this week in South America. The scenes watched live by Jos Capito and the Volkswagen team backing Carlos Paz. But Latvala and co-driver Mika Anttila have barely put a foot wrong all weekend. Into the flying finish now. They have to settle for third place in the power stage, but it is the overall victory they came here for. A first Argentina win for Latvala and the 10th victory of his career. As ever, an emotional moment for Jari-Matti and the whole team. So another stunning drive from Ogier, winning the stage by 10 seconds from Hirvonen and Latvala, but there's no denying Jari-Matti a brilliant rally victory.
It's been a fantastic weekend, you know. This rally has not been easy for me in the past, and last year I finished the podium, but I could not dream to win this rally. It is something special, but now finally everything went together. We have done a lot of work with my engineer, and he has been helping me with the things, and we have started to realize what things I need to do. These kind of things, you know, that when you work with the right things, you get the right things, you know, clicking together, and then it comes.
Jari-Matti Latvala, one very popular winner. Chris Meek also delighted to claim his second podium of the year. Kubica holds off Evans to take 6, finally making it through without an incident. Back at service, one very happy VW team boss.
I think that was our best rally so far. It was a very hard rally, and I think also Andrea said a mishappening on the Friday on the first day. Otherwise, it would have been really good position to have been third, and it was a great experience.
It's the first time when I can win Sébastien Ogier by driving, and it is impressive, and it's one of those best. Let's say, I can also say that one of those victories that when you know that it's not come because some people were doing mistakes or unlucky. It was a straight open fight.
Yet another successful weekend for VW, celebrating a new record, 9 rally wins, as well as a superb performance from both their drivers. Smiles all round. Ogier's power stage win earning him 21 points to Jari-Matti's 26. The gap between the pair now 24 points. A great comeback from Mikkelsen sees him leapfrog Mads Osberg into third. Chris Meek, the big mover, his podium moving him from 10th to 6th ahead of Thierry Neuville. In the manufacturers, VW, 5 wins out of 5, now more than double the points of their nearest rival Citroën. Hyundai, despite their issues, closing the gap to M Sport. But all the focus in Argentina on Jari-Matti Latvala, the first new winner here in 8 years, and he's given the championship something of a shake-up. Okay, that's just about it from another classic Rally Argentina. It's been rough, tough, and totally compelling. Next up, we're back in Europe for a new look Rally Sardinia. Until then, from Paul King and myself, Kevin Piper, bye for now.
Oh, oh.